Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivada Dari Gopijana Vallabha Girivada Dari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivada Dari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jam Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya, Ashto Tadashata Shri Srimad Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya, Ashto Tadashata Shri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachari Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sekaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Yamunamai Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, entitled The Creative Impetus, Chapter 11. Jad Bharat instructs King Rahugana. We're in text 1, which I guess we'll read the summary here first. In this chapter, the Brahmin Jad Bharat instructs Maharaj Rahugana in detail. He tells the king, "You are not very experienced, yet you pose yourself as a learned person because you are very proud of your knowledge. Actually, a person who is on the transcendental platform does not care for social behavior that sacrifices spiritual advancement. Social behavior comes within the jurisdiction of karma kanda, material benefit. No one can spiritually advance by such activities. The conditioned soul is always overpowered by the modes of material nature, and consequently he is simply concerned with material benefits and auspicious and inauspicious material things. In other words, the mind, which is the leader of the senses, is absorbed in material activities, life after life. Thus he continuously gets different types of bodies and suffers miserable material conditions. On the basis of mental concoction, social behavior has been formulated. If one's mind is absorbed in these activities, he certainly remains conditioned within the material world. According to different opinions, there are 11 or 12 mental activities which can be transformed into hundreds and thousands. A person who is not Krishna conscious is subjected to all these mental concoctions and is thus governed by the material energy. The living entity who is free from material concoctions, mental concoctions, attains the platform of pure spirit soul, devoid of material contamination. There are two types of living entities, Jivatma and Paramatma, the individual soul and the Supreme Soul. That Supreme Soul in his ultimate realization is Lord Vasudeva, Krishna. He enters into everyone's heart and controls the living entity in his different activities. He is therefore the supreme shelter of all living entities. One can understand the Supreme Soul and one's position in relationship with him when one is completely freed from the unwanted association of ordinary men. In this way, one can become fit to cross the ocean of nescience. The cause of conditional life is attachment to the external energy. One has to conquer these mental concoctions. Unless one does so, he will never be freed from material anxieties. Although the mental concoctions have no value, their influence is still very formidable. No one should neglect to control the mind. If one does, the mind becomes so powerful that one immediately forgets his real position. Forgetting that he is an eternal servant of Krishna and that service to Krishna is his only business, one is doomed by material nature to serve the objects of the senses. One should kill mental concoctions by the sword of service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotee. Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. So if everybody could please repeat after me. Brahmano Vacha Kovida Vada Vadan Vadas Atto Nati Vidam Varishtaha Na Suryo Hi Vyavaharam Enam Tattva Vamashena Sahama Nanti Brahmanu Uvacha Akovida Vada Vadan Vadasyato Nati Vidam Virishtaha Nasuryohi Vivaharamenam Tatvavamashrena Sahamananti Brahmana Uvacha Kovida kovida vada vadan vadasyato nati vidam vinashtaha nasuryo hi vyavaharam enam tadvavamashrena sahamananti brahmana vacha kovida kovida vada vadan vadasyato nati vidam varishtaha nasuryo hi vivaharam enam tadvavamashena sahamananti Word by word. Brahmano vacha. The Brahman said, Akovidaha, without having experience. Kovida vada vadan. Words used by experienced persons. Vadasi, you are speaking. Ato, therefore. Na, not. Atividam, of those who are very experienced. Vrishtaha, the most important. Na, not. Suryaha, such intelligent persons. He, indeed. Vyavaharam, mundane and social behavior. Enam, this tattva of the truth. Of Amrishena, fine judgment by intelligence. Saha, with Amananti, discuss. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, HG Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Brahmin Jadbharat said, My dear king, although you are not at all experienced, you are trying to speak like a very experienced man. Consequently, you cannot be considered an experienced person. An experienced person does not speak the way you are speaking about the relationship between a master and a servant or about material pains and pleasures. These are simply external activities. Any advanced, experienced man, considering the absolute truth, does not talk in this way. Purport. Krishna similarly chastised Arjuna, Ashochan of Ashochastvam pragyavadang shabashase. While speaking learned words, you are lamenting for what is not worthy of grief. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 11. Similarly, among people in general, Prabhupada gives a very high percentage here. Similarly, among people in general, 99.9% try to talk like experienced advisors, but they are actually devoid of spiritual knowledge, and are therefore like inexperienced children, speaking nonsensically. Consequently, their words cannot be given any importance. One has to learn from Krishna or his devotee. If one speaks on the basis of this experience, that is, on the basis of spiritual knowledge, one's words are valuable. At the present moment, the entire world is full of foolish people. Bhagavad Gita describes these people as mudhas. They're trying to rule human society, but because they're devoid of spiritual knowledge, the entire world is in a chaotic condition. To be released from these miserable conditions, one has to become Krishna conscious and take lessons from an exalted personality like Jadbharat, Lord Krishna, and Kapiladev. That is the only way to solve the problems of material life. Gananjana Shalakya Chakshuvanmaditam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karidiva Chalam Pangam Nangai Tegidim Yakit Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dintadinam Vancha Kapdribisha Kripasindabevicha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation again. The Brahmin Jadbharat said, "My dear king, although you are not at all experienced, you are trying to speak like a very experienced man. Consequently, you cannot be considered an experienced person. An experienced person does not speak the way you're speaking about the relationship between a master and a servant or about material pains and pleasures. These are simply external activities. Any advanced, experienced man, considering the absolute truth, does not talk in this way." There was once this devotee, and before she became a devotee, she was following this particular person, and this person was a guru to her, and he wrote many books, and those books became very popular, extremely popular. Millions were sold. So one time, this is before she was devotee, but one time she was in Hawaii, and she was at a club there, and a bunch of people there, and then drinking and whatever they're doing there, and she saw from a distance this man who she follows. Her guru. So naturally, she wanted to move closer to him. So she was walking towards him, and of course, I mean, he didn't know her. She was like you could say, anonymous follower. And when she got close to him, he was there with a few of his buddies. And this particular guru, he was extremely intoxicated. He was wasted, which in her mind wasn't such a big thing. It's like, all right, well, sometimes even the enlightened have to kind of, right, get drunk sometimes. It's okay. It wasn't a big thing in her mind. But he was there, and he was intoxicated, drunk, and with buddies, and he was laughing. He's going, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. He said, I've written so many books, and it's complete garbage. And he's laughing. I can't believe it. And millions of copies have been sold. And then this girl, she was going, I can't believe this is happening to me. I can't believe this. Because in her mind, this person, again, was her teacher, guru, guide, person who was bestowing transcendental knowledge. And here he was in a club in Hawaii, completely intoxicated, joking, laughing with his buddies, boasting how he wrote so many books and millions of people bought them, and how they're just absolute garbage. And he's admitting that. So yeah, in some cases, people, they understand what they're writing or what they're speaking is just garbage, and they're just somehow they're getting followers. So sometimes they understand that, but of course sometimes there's gurus who absolutely believe everything they say, and they think it's great. They write books and this and that. So now, how much of the percentage of these teachers or gurus are what in those particular categories? I don't know. I don't know how we'd figure that out. Like, go up to them and say, "Oh, do you actually believe what you're saying is good, or do you think it's garbage? You know it's garbage." So, anyways, it's hard to tell. But here, Srila Prabhupada's saying that whatever the case is, people, they try to talk like experienced advisors, but they're actually devoid of spiritual knowledge. And they're therefore like inexperienced children speaking nonsensically. So whether they know it or not, this is what Srila Prabhupada's saying, that's the case. Inexperienced. And sometimes it's hard to get sick when you're in a large community of people. I don't know if it's just devotees or if it's just any group, but they have a saying that as soon as you become sick, right, that immediately there's so many doctors, right, giving advice. So it's tough sometimes. So just like one of my god sisters, she was telling me how our spiritual master, he was, some time ago, he was showing symptoms of a cold, but he was giving a class on Zoom. And after the class, she got a bunch of emails coming in. Oh, you should do this, you should, to help our spiritual master, that. And people have so many different ideas, right, for health and how to get free from sickness. Okay, you go and you get some grapefruits and you set them out in the morning sun, let them sit there for 4 hours. It has to be 4 hours exactly. And then after sitting there for 4 hours, you cut them in half and you squeeze them, and you have to drink them immediately, the juice. And then, so many different things, right? So many different recipes people have. And if you're sick and you have so many different people telling you, it could be a little overwhelming. So it's another case of people, you could say, acting as experienced advisors. So Srila Prabhupada says here that because they're like children, inexperienced children, their words cannot be given any importance. And Prabhupada says one has to learn from Krishna or his devotee. If one speaks on the basis of this experience, that is, on the basis of spiritual knowledge, one's words are valuable. So this is important because there's a tendency to become like you're on a particular track and you become derailed, right? To fall off, become sidetracked, based on what we think is right. For example, Nanda Kumar Prabhu, one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, he was in London, I believe, and he served Srila Prabhupada boysenberries. And Srila Prabhupada Apparently, he never had boysenberries until that time, and Srila Prabhupada, oh, this is very good. He asked, what is it? And Nanda Kumar Prabhu said, it's boysenberries. And then Nanda Kumar was saying there was a man whose name was Boysen, apparently, and he somehow or other, mixing different berries, he came up with this berry. It's like a mix, right? Prabhupada said, oh, it's very good. And then Prabhupada was joking, and he was laughing, and he said, like, poison berry, you know? He's joking, you know. And then Prabhupada said, and then the Nanda Kumar said, no, Boysen. And Prabhupada said, okay. So then some time passed, and Nanda Kumar was in the kitchen, and he was washing some boysenberries to offer to Prabhupada. So then one devotee, she said, no, what are you doing? You can't offer that. Prabhupada said they're poisonous. You can't offer that. So then Nanda Kumar, he went to Srila Prabhupada and he said, oh, Prabhupada, based on our conversation, our light conversation some time ago, somehow the devotees overheard, and they're saying that boysenberries are poisonous, based on what you said. And Prabhupada started to laugh, and he said, oh, people are saying so many things. Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada said that. But he said that, and at that time, Prabhupada said that if you don't read it in my books or hear me say it personally, just take it with a grain of salt. In another case with Nanda Kumar, he had a similar case. It was in Mumbai, it was in Juhu, and he was preparing Prabhupada's breakfast, and the devotees were speaking, and there was word out that Srila Prabhupada gave a very specific number of how many chickpeas devotees could have every day. So some devotees were saying 7, some were saying 11. If you're in Denver, maybe it was 8, I don't know, but different numbers. So then Nanda Kumar went to Srila Prabhupada again and said, Prabhupada, there's some type of rumor going around that you said we could only have a certain amount of chickpeas. Some are saying 7, some are saying 11, some are saying 8. So what do you think about that? They're saying it based on Prabhupada said. And again, Srila Prabhupada said that, oh, they're saying I said so many things. Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada said that. But if you don't read it in my books or hear it from me personally, then you shouldn't accept it. And he said, and as far as chickpeas go, he said you should eat as many as you could digest. So to be a follower of Srila Prabhupada, to be a member of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, we should try to keep in mind this principle to always quote or always have some reference for what we're doing or what we're speaking. And specifically quoting our acharyas and Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, different Vedic literature. And Srila Prabhupada says, because people they're just, you could say, concocting things or making things up and not quoting Krishna or scripture, acharyas, then they're foolish. Oh, somebody didn't like that, huh? You got to turn off your mic. I'm not sure who that is, but Zoom.
I muted her.
So they're considered to be foolish. Mudhas, Srila Prabhupada says here, quoting the Bhagavad Gita. One time, Srila Prabhupada gave a very, very kind of clear-cut sentence in which he said that whatever Krishna said is good. Whatever Krishna says is good, and everything else is bad. So this was about finished. Now, of course, there's many philosophies, like Srila Prabhupada discussing in that book with Shamasundar Prabhu, the different philosophers. Now, there are some things that are similar to what's spoken in the Bhagavad Gita. So it's not that everything anybody says is not related to Krishna consciousness at all. There's many things, but the things that aren't, Srila Prabhupada said, they're bad. Now someone would say, oh, well, this sounds very dogmatic or something. You're saying that everybody's foolish. Then we say, well, the result, or you judge a fruit by the result, right? In other words, people are saying we're experienced, we got things together, everything's good, we're all going in the right direction. Then why is the world, human society, devoid of spiritual knowledge, why is the whole world in a chaotic condition? So that's proof. That's proof that they actually don't know. And then Srila Prabhupada says, to be released from these miserable conditions, one has to become Krishna conscious and take lessons from an exalted personality like Jad Bharat, Lord Krishna, and Kapila Dev. That is the only way to solve the problems of material life. So no matter how many times they try to solve the different problems of life, they're not able to. Like the problem of happiness, for example. It's a big problem, and people aren't able to solve it. They're not able to solve it. It's like all the people downtown last night, and they're all trying to enjoy, right? New Year's Eve, have a good time. It's actually a very strange way to bring in the new year. Like, oh, let's all go out and get intoxicated, completely wasted. It's just, that's a very auspicious beginning, right? It's just very strange. People are, barfing on the sidewalk, throwing up. We saw some person laying on the sidewalk. Just, I don't know what happened. They fell down. They're just laying there. Means one of the partiers out there. Of course, we're out there chanting Hare Krishna, so a lot of people heard the chanting of the holy names. Books went out, flyers went out, so that's good. But yeah, the problem of how to be happy, it's a big problem. So Srila Prabhupada says that if we follow Krishna's instructions, Kapila Dev's instructions, Jad Bharat's instructions, then that's the sure way to be happy and to solve all the problems of material life. So that's what's being advised. And as Vijay Prabhu was mentioning the other day, one of the best ways to inspire people or encourage people in Krishna consciousness if the devotees are happy. Like he was saying on book distribution, if the devotees are looking very morose, very discouraged, uninspired, whatever, then it's like, yeah, we're distributing books on happiness. Or as Navina Nirada Prabhu said, when devotees are out there distributing books on happiness, that's one of the things, right? How to be happy spiritually, right? Then Navina Nirada Prabhu said that the people, they'll look at the devotee, and then they'll look at the book. And they'll look at the devotee, then they'll look at the book to see if it's matching. And if it is, then they're more likely to take a book. So it's one of the ways. So by the mercy of my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, the devotees, and although I was on a FaceTime call, and we was with some family. So one of them, they said, "Oh, you look so happy." And she said, "Is there any spots down there, you know, any open spots, any open spaces?" So she said, "I want to be happy too." So anyways, I thought that was... So yeah, if we're feeling happy, if we're looking happy, then people will be curious. Actually, when I was in Istanbul, there was one person. It was her first time there to the center, and I asked. After the talk, she came up to me and she was asking some questions. So I asked her, "How did you hear about the center?" And she says, "Oh, well, my friend, I used to work with him. My friend Satvik, he's a disciple. He's a devotee there, and he's a disciple of Shivram Swami." So she said, "I used to work with him in the airlines. We were flying, and she said that I saw him, and I was just so inspired. She said I'd see in his eyes this brightness and this happiness. So she said, I wanted to know where that's coming from. So I asked him, and of course, naturally, he said, he gave her books and invited her to the center. And she said she was also, when she visited, she was feeling very happy. So yeah, it's an important thing. And then, of course, we have, I was thinking also in relation to encouraging people or trying to bring people to Krishna consciousness. We have our Dimitri here. His plan was to distribute 1,000 of Srila Prabhupada's books in the month of December, and he did that, right? A little more than 1,000 now? Jai. Hare Krishna. So, and then devotees were bringing up this point of Srila Prabhupada saying often to double it, right? Prabhupada would hear some amazing result that the devotees accomplished, and he would say, "That's very good." And he'd say, "Now double it." So then the question is, okay, we could double it, and then double it, and then double it. But sometimes it's like, well, how many books can a human being, with their 2 hands and 2 legs and right, and so much time in the day and whatever, how much can they distribute alone? So there needs to be, you could say, an army, and there is all over the world of devotees, distributing books, and doing Harinam and doing so many things to spread Krishna consciousness. So when we think about doubling it, in many ways, a great way to do that is to engage more people as much as possible. Or you could say to make more devotees. Just like last year, there was a certain amount of books distributed here in San Diego, and but now, sorry for the example, but now Dimitri's here, and there was another 1,000 distributed. Last year, I don't think that 1,000 was distributed, but so if there's more people coming, then more books will be distributed, and that's a way to follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. So, all right, does anybody have any in-house questions or comments?
Hare Krishna?
Yes, you could ask.
Yes, Balaram Prabhu, thank you very much. You're very kind. Prabhu, the quote from the purport is, quote, "They are trying to rule human society, but because they are devoid of spiritual knowledge, the entire world is in a chaotic condition," end quote. So Prabhu, in favor of these people, we could be there saying, well, in a certain way, these people are correct, because to use spiritual solutions for material problems? If I live in the material world and I have material problems, let me go for using material solutions in order to solve these material problems. So my question is, why is it that in order to solve material problems, I need the help of spiritual solutions?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, because we're not material by nature, we're spiritual. So the problems of like people are thinking, okay, I am this material body, right, and mind. And on that basis, they're thinking, okay, I need to be happy, and the way to be happy is to make my body and mind titillate the senses, right? Gratify the body and mind. But why do people need spiritual solutions to the problem of happiness, for example? Because they're never going to be happy on the material platform. They're going to be happy on the spiritual platform. Means through spiritual advancement. So, or just like, for example, the problem of racism. Now, it's a problem. It's a worldwide pandemic problem. It's a disease. People are racist all over the world. And also between religions, the fighting between religions, that's also a huge problem. I mean, right, Hindus and Muslim, I mean, it's a huge problem, actually. So let's say those two problems. Now they're problems, so then you say, why do I need a spiritual solution? Well, that's the only thing that's going to work. Because racism, for example, means hating someone for the color of their skin. It'll be solved if people realize that they're not their body, and that other people are not their body. It's not enough just to realize that we're not our body. We also realize other people are not their body, and in that way they'll able to see that, okay, this person is a soul, right, spiritual, and aside from that, part and parcel of Krishna. Mamai Vangsho, Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. They're all part and parcels of Krishna. I guess that could be more in the realm of the different religions fighting, right? Hindus, Muslims, whatever, Christians fighting or hating each other, heavily disliking each other. Like the Muslims, as we know them, a lot of them, they don't like the Sufis, the mystic, because apparently the Sufis, they want to become God. That's part of their practice. So they don't like them. It's like, like they're Mayavadis. On a side note, but in terms of other religious groups hating each other, disliking each other, if they were just to realize that, hey, we're all part and parcel of God, we're all part of this, we have the same Father, and therefore I should, right, love your brother, right? Or love your neighbor as you love yourself. Therefore, I should love everybody. I shouldn't hate anybody. So the problem of religions fighting and so on, it could be solved only on the spiritual platform. And whatever problem we look at, it's the same. So, anyways, that's something about that.
Yes, Balaram Prabhu, if I may, brilliant, outstanding answer to my question. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Okay, Daniel?
Thank you, Balaram Prabhu, for a wonderful class, as always. So my question relates to the mental concoction, and understanding that what is considered mental concoction, what is considered a self-realization.
Okay. what's considered mental concoction, what's considered a realization. Well, I mean, everything should be confirmed through our gurus, our teachers. So we have our Shiksha gurus, instructing gurus. We have our Diksha guru, initiated spiritual master. We have other saintly devotees. So if we feel that we've had some realization of maybe something we should do, then we should confirm that with others, understanding that they can help us to get a clear idea of what we should do in terms, if we think we have a realization of what we should do. For example, there was two bhaktas in a particular temple in South Africa, and they both had the realization. They said, in the brahmacharya ashram, they said, one of them said to the other, you know, I think I should just go. You know, this is just too much. I'm just gonna, you know, do something else. Brahmacharya life is just too intense. And then the other bhakta said, you know what? That's a good idea. I think I'm going to join you. So then they both just took off. And later, they had the realization, which you could say was a good realization, to come back, to stay in the temple. So, just like I remember there was this young man here, brahmachari, and he had a desire to marry, which is understandable. I mean, it's not like some surprise or something, but at least in my particular opinion, I felt that he could have spent some more time in the brahmacharya ashram. Because he's like, I don't know, 20 years old or 21 or something. I mean, he could spend a little more time, you know, to immediately jump into it. And aside from that, I also thought it was kind of just a passionate thing on his part. You know, he's attracted to some devotee girl, and it was just a lot of, you know, motive passion. And then later, yeah, I mean, didn't work out with them too, unfortunately. I mean, it would have been nice if they would have been, you know, Krishna conscious family and all that, but it just didn't work out. Now he's quite a kind of hedonistic, atheistic type of person. But so yeah, we should get confirmation, whatever it may be. Like you have a dream, and hey, I had a dream last night, and I should take sannyas. But part of my realization of me taking sannyas is it's just so hard to take sannyas in ISKCON, so let me go to another society which is very easy to take sannyas and then take sannyas. But talking to our gurus, they may say, well, okay, you had a dream and there might be something to it, or maybe, well, hey, I don't think so. I think you need to kind of hold your horses here, right? So we have to have some confirmation. You can't just do things kind of wildly without any consideration of others' valuable advice. Yes. So that's something about that.
I guess just to build off of that, how do you know you're getting the right confirmation? What if, like, you go to two different, you know, higher authorities, and one says this way and one says this way, and like, how would you choose between that then?
Well, one thing is if you have too many advisors, you could become confused. Yeah, you have Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu, the spiritual master, and you have the scriptures, and you have the saintly persons. But even amongst, if you have, I mean, my conviction is that, I mean, it says in the scripture that Krishna, he's directing the wanderings of all living entities. Sarvasya chaham hridi sandavish, Ishvara sarvabhutanam hrideshu arjuna tish. So he's directing the wanderings of all living entities. So it's not an accident that we're in a particular place with particular people. It's not an accident. So we should try to see how the others around us just may be our gurus. And actually that's a philosophy, they are. But I've noticed sometimes that a tendency is to not see the local devotees as one's gurus, but try to look other places for instruction, which I think can be very dangerous actually, and very strange. For example, I'm here in San Diego, and there's all these devotees around, and I'm not seeing any of them as my guru, for example. But I'm listening to somebody who lives in Europe, who I like their lectures, but I never talk to them, I never email them, I never text them, I never do anything. I practically have no communication with them, just hearing their lectures. And then, with my mind, I interpret, or whatever I hear from them, I act. But that could be very dangerous, because maybe you're hearing the lecture, and actually you're not actually doing what they're prescribing. In other words, you're not hearing properly and not getting confirmation. But if somebody's here giving a lecture, right, or somebody's here giving some advice about spiritual life, and then we follow it, or try to follow it, then that person can say, hey, I gave you the advice to get enthusiastic about distributing books, to get fired up about distributing books. I gave you that advice, but by that advice, I didn't mean to say that you should be out, 15 hours a day. I think you should, reduce. Or when I said you should be enthusiastic about book distribution, it doesn't mean you should go out an hour a day. It means you should go out more. So in this way, you could have more clear communication. So anyways, I hope that kind of... All right, last one. Mr. Dhamaraj.
Hare Krishna.
Local boy. Yes.
So with all of our preaching activities going on and steadily trying to increase, why is this number not going down, this 99.9%?
Okay. 99.9%, it's a big number to try to reduce. And it's not so easy for someone to actually surrender to Krishna, to become serious. It could be quite challenging. But the fact is, there's temples all over the world. There's books going out all over the world. There's harinams going all over the world. There's devotees all over the world. And it is making a difference. It is changing people's lives. It is helping people. We may not see a huge change from our particular vision, but the fact of just millions and millions of books going out, that has an effect on people, on the world. And in some ways, it may be gradually seen, but that also, we can't become attached to the results. Oh, I distributed so many books, and we did so many harinam, and people aren't coming. Well, we shouldn't be attached. People come or they don't come. The point is to try to distribute the knowledge. But also, we should note that ISKCON has only been around, 50 years? A little more, but it hasn't been around that long. I mean, it's all over the world. Whereas these other Christianity or whatever, it's been worldwide for a long time. And even then, people make, people subscribe to be Christians, right, or whatever the particular religion. But anyways, following, or are they following? Or but I was hearing from one devotee how they're studying religions, the spread of religions worldwide, and apparently ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, the chanted Hare Krishna, it is extremely spreading extremely fast in comparison with other religions in the particular beginning of the religion spreading worldwide. Spreading extremely fast. I mean, he may have said, we need to confirm, so take it with a grain of salt. He may have said the fastest means worldwide. So, yeah, anyways, that's something about that. Yes.
Well, I was thinking of two things. You have to remember that 100 years after Jesus, the Christians were being fed to lions.
Yeah.
So it took them a couple hundred years to get rolling, so don't be surprised. The other thing is, and Vijay can also confirm, we used to go out on books. You say it's a book on yoga. They'd say yogurt. I don't eat yogurt. Or you'd try, all these guru, vegetarian, karma, reincarnation, which they were totally alien concepts in America. So things take time to change. Our attention span's like a gnat. 50 years is nothing when you look at the grand. If you look at social changes, I mean, just to get the vote for the blacks from emancipation, took 100 years. We're still working on it. So cultures, it takes time to change. And since we started distributing books and distributing prasadam and the holy name, mantras, gurus, meditation, yoga, where do you want to count? It's profound how much the culture has changed. You used to say you're a vegetarian. They say, what do you, of course we take Krishna prasadam, but you say, we don't eat meat, fish, and eggs. Well, what do you eat? Now you say we don't eat meat, fish, and eggs. They say, I'm trying. I gave up red meat, It's become, the whole culture has changed. And it comes from prasadam distribution, the holy name. So we are having a profound impact. It's just what you have to look at. And then there's also, why doesn't everyone own a Tiffany diamond? Why doesn't everybody have a Rolex watch? Why?
It's expensive.
You got to pay the price. Bahonam jamanam ante. So if you got a priceless thing, not everyone's going to pay the price of shraddha and surrender. That's not how you measure. The fact that everyone doesn't have a Tiffany's, ring, does that mean that diamonds are useless? No.
Yeah, my grandmother was telling me, and she went to Jerusalem. She's Christian, So she said that, and she went around there, different places, and she said that she would, they're giving tours, and there was one place, there was like a hole in the ground, practically. And that was a place where people, the rulers, whatever, they'd put some of the followers of Christ there, like a little prison, damp and dark. So it was really intense, like I said, feeding the lions. And so yeah, it takes time to accept, but yeah, the Sanskrit words, my godbrother was telling me, many of them are entering the English language. They're adding it to the dictionary. It's quite interesting. And as Maharaj was saying also about vegetarianism, a lot of before, a lot of people think that was just weird. Like, what's wrong with you? But now you go to hospital, Kaiser Permanente or whatever, and you tell, oh yeah, vegetarian, whatever. They say, oh, that's very good and very healthy. One of the best diets, healthy. And so it's gradually so. Okay, Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Can I ask you a question off mic? Yes.